So, Wolverine Origins. Let me prepare myself first by ranting about something across the entire franchise. Where's the costumes? Seriously, they tease at the end of First Class that we're gonna see Magneto in his ridiculous purple and red costume, and it was fantastic. Days of Future Past, everyone is back to the grimy, leather and weird futuristic costumes. The Avengers proved that you can have your heroes in their costumes, the costumes from the comic, and it'll work on screen. For whatever reason, Bryan Singer refuses to put Wolverine in his ridiculous blue and yellow costume, or any of the other X-Men in their costumes. They're just, oh yeah, leather. Look at the leather. We're a biker gang now. So with that, on to the lowest point in the X-Men franchise, Wolverine Origins. This movie is The CGI, it doesn't just look bad for an X-Men movie, it looks bad for Who Framed Roger Rabbit. There's a scene where Wolverine is in a bathroom at a farmer's house, and he brings out his claws, and they're comically bad. And he starts hitting them together, and they suddenly just spark for no reason. It hurts to see. But that's not even the worst part. It was the fact that so many characters were ruined by this movie. Wolverine, even though he's on this revenge quest where he's trying to murder these two people, he's still joking around with Will.i.am. And he's just yeah, it's funny because this is an adventure, and yeah, I don't care that my girlfriend and or wife, it's not really established, got horribly murdered. Early on in the movie, they establish that Wolverine and Sabretooth are part of this secret mutant squad of mutants. So they go and they find some adamantium, or its natural state vibranium, in Africa, and then they start killing people because they're assholes. But they find a building where the vibranium is hidden. So they go in. Ryan Reynolds, he's doing wisecracks, and he's got a big sword, and he's look at how awesome this sword is. And he's hey, that Fred guy, he got a new tattoo, and he's concerned. And it's hula girl. And he's Wolverine's bro, you just met her last night. And he was I love her, man. And it's okay, that's whatever. That's kind of stupid, but the Deadpool part was funny. Not Deadpool. The Ryan Reynolds playing Wade Wilson part was funny. And then Wade Wilson goes into a room with a bunch of dudes. He just kills the out of them. And then he turns around and he's you can come in now. People are dead. And it's funny. I swear. But then he just disappears. Ryan Reynolds is in this movie for maybe 5 minutes. When I heard they were putting Deadpool in Wolverine Origins, I was ecstatic. Finally, Deadpool's gonna be in an X-Men movie. It'll be hilarious, and he'll murder a bunch of people. Deadpool, Wade Wilson, and Ryan Reynolds are in this movie for 5 minutes. The Deadpool at the end of the movie is a abomination. Moving right along, Wolverine then, he starts working as a lumberjack or something of that nature in Canada with his girlfriend Kayla Silverfox. And Sabretooth comes and he kills Wolverine's wife-girlfriend. And Wolverine is pissed about it. So he goes in and fights Sabretooth in a bar. And then Sabretooth breaks off Wolverine's bone spikies. And then Wolverine's all pissed and he passes out or something. Wakes up in the hospital. Colonel Stryker guy comes in and he's maybe I can help. And Wolverine, completely unsuspicious of this individual who has done nothing but shady the entire movie, he's just yeah, okay. And he goes and he gets adamantium injected into his bones. Colonel Stryker is just yeah, kill him. You just made him indestructible, you idiot! If he's gonna go hunt down your business partner Sabretooth, it. You then have a, right-hand man who is indestructible. He's infinitely better than Sabretooth. Wolverine goes and he visits Will.i.am in his, boxing club or whatever. Blob Guy tells Wolverine there's an island and that Sabretooth and Stryker are business partners, and it's stupid. Wolverine and Will.i.am, they go to New Orleans to talk to this guy who used to play poker with the guards at the island, and he was always taking their money, so they called him Gambit. This is retarded. I don't understand why they didn't introduce Gambit earlier, and they finally caved to pressure, and they were like, fine, we'll put Gambit in a movie. And he serves no purpose. He's just yeah, there's an island. Will.i.am gets killed by Sabretooth. And then Gambit comes out of the wall hole in the club that he just made by throwing Wolverine through it. I'm not going back to the island. And Wolverine punches him in the face. But then Wolverine and Sabretooth start fighting. And Gambit is suddenly awake. And he just starts beating up on Wolverine instead of just running away, which would be the smart thing to do. Wolverine then cuts Gambit's power pole in half after a very obvious dick joke. Gambit starts climbing the wall of a building using his now 2 halves of his power staff. When did Gambit get that power? And Gambit, he's running on walls and doing, flips and shit. Gambit can just turn potential energy into kinetic energy. That's all he can do. He can't suddenly run on walls. He's not Spider-Man. And then he's like, listen, Gambit, I just want you to take me to the island so I can kill Sabretooth and evil Colonel Guy and avenge my best friend Will.i.am. And Gambit's suddenly alright, whatever. This is not Gambit's character. Gambit would have just been what's in it for me? Once again, it's another character that was ruined by this movie. There's Weapon 11, which is a guy with his mouth sewn shut, and he's getting all these powers put into him somehow. Wolverine comes in and he's like, oh, I'm gonna kill you. Where's Victor? Who is Sabretooth? Colonel Stryker then goes on a rant. He needed the DNA from all the other mutants that were killed to put into the pool. And Wolverine is like, what do you mean? And then he's like, oh, it's Weapon 11. He's Deadpool. Because Deadpool hadn't shown up since the beginning of the movie. And I was like, oh, well, even if there's only 5 minutes of Wade Wilson Deadpool, played by Ryan Reynolds, it's whatever, as long as he's not in the rest of the movie, because clearly they're going to ruin him. When Colonel Stryker said he's Deadpool, after they had shown him getting injected with adamantium and just a bunch of other mutant abilities that he doesn't have in the comics, I audibly just looked at the screen and yelled, bullshit. 1, doesn't have most of the powers that he was given. 2, they sewed up his mouth, even though Deadpool's nickname is the Merc with the Mouth. 3, they gave him Wolverine claws, only it was 1 katana for each arm that was this long, which, if you'll notice, is longer than the human forearm. So even if it went up into his knuckles and stopped here, he wouldn't be able to move his wrists. And he wouldn't be able to move his elbows. Wolverine's girlfriend wife didn't actually die, and she has the mutant power to influence men when she touches them. And she only did what she did to Wolverine because Colonel Stryker had her sister. Wolverine's like, this is bullshit, and then he leaves. Even though his entire purpose of going to this island was to kill Stryker and Sabretooth. 2 people that have brought about the murder of his friends. But he's just like, whatever, I'm done with this, and he walks out.